All right. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Whitestown Redevelopment Commission meeting. It's March 7th, 2022, 7 p.m. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Roll call.
Rob Worrell. Here. Mark Pasquarella.
Here.
Adam Hess.
Here.
Clinton Baum.
Howdy.
Craig Arthur. Absent. Elizabeth Keith.
Here.
And Michael Berg. Here.
All right. No presentations tonight?
No.
Nope. All right. So moving on to the approval of the meeting minutes for the meeting on January 24th, 2022.
Mr. President, I move the meeting minutes as presented.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion's approved for the meeting minutes for January 24th, 2022. What's that? Oh, can I have a vote for approval of the meeting minutes January 24th?
All quorum members are all voting members are present. If you want a roll call, I can do roll call, or you can just call for
All those
votes.
in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say no. All right, meeting is approved. All right, no unfinished business. Moving on to new business. Tonight we have a public hearing on the Patch Economic Development Area. Nathan, is there someone here to speak on that?
Andrew Greenwood is online. If you'd like to unmute, you should be able to, Andrew.
Public.
And then we'll do the public hearing first.
Yeah, so I guess opening up the public hearing.
Time is 7:05.
There's no one online.
Nate, my internet connection is not the greatest, so I can. I apologize. My internet connection is not the greatest, but our development is there at County Road 450 and Albert S. White. We're here before you this evening on this matter of building a 569,000 square foot building and putting in the public infrastructure along County Road 450 East for that. And the related TIF financing that will go with that.
Nathan, about how many acres is this one?
I could pull up. Do you know?
All told, the site is 76 acres. The north lot, which will have the 569,000 square feet, is approximately 37 acres, and the south lot is approximately 12 to 15 acres.
There's no one online from the public to speak.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move we close the public hearing.
Second. All right. The public hearing is closed. Mr. Greenwood, thanks for speaking tonight. Appreciate it.
7:06.
So moving on to item B, new business. Consideration of the confirmatory resolution 2023-03 for Whitestown, the Patch Economic Development Area resolution.
Resolution number 2022-03, resolution of the Town of Whitestown Redevelopment Commission confirming the declaratory resolution of said commission establishing the Whitestown Patch Economic Development Area.
So, like the, or do we need to have a comment on this, or is it just a vote?
I was just going to clarify with Dennis, this is the final step of this process after all the other boards and commission votes, is that correct?
Yep, that's right. We've been to RDC, Plan Commission Council, and then now back. And then I would just like to mention Jim Treat is on the line, and we've worked with Jim. OW Crone, they've done the tax impact statements, gone out to the taxing units, as has the legal notice of the hearing. So this is the final step in establishing this TIF area.
Thank you to Crone. This is their first year working with the town as our financial advisor, and we're very excited about the future with the positive work they've already done in these first couple of months.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We have reviewed the cash flows for this, since you mentioned that I was online. We just got updated numbers about 4 o'clock from Andrew and his group, but I have already taken a look at 4 o'clock this afternoon, but I have taken a look at them, and they're very close to what we had already looked at, and so I think they work fine. It is a combination of an abatement on this property, a 10-year abatement on parcel number 1 that Andrew described with the larger building, and then lot number 2, when it develops, is not abated. So it's a little bit of an unusual concept, and then there's a little different. And then the pledge of TIF that you're pledging with the, I think it's actually in the next resolution, we'll just cover it at once, is 85%. So 15% will be available for the RDC to spend on any legal purposes that you deem appropriate. The 85% will be to cover debt service on the TIF bonds, and the amount is $6,690,000, including a pledge of, or the bond amount is $6,630,000. There's also a pledge from Patch to contribute some upfront money to assure that the cash flows in those early years where there's a lot of abatement work. So if there's any questions, I don't know how much detail you guys like to go into on this. I thought I'd just touch base on those key concepts, since each of these developer deals is a little bit different. Any questions?
No, thank you for the detail. Anyone else?
No, appreciate the thoroughness. Thank you.
Is it a developer-backed bond? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
It is a developer-backed bond. So if there's any shortfalls, there's no obligation of the town, other than the 85% they've pledged, that the shortfalls go back to Patch Development to cover. Now, if there's excess TIF later on, they can get reimbursed for those payments they've made, but that's how they work.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I move the adoption of resolution number 2022-03.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor say no. All right, motion 2022-3, Patch Economic Development Area is approved. Moving on to item C, consideration of TIF Pledge Resolution 2022-04 for the TIF bonds related to the Patch project.
Resolution number 2022-04, a resolution of the Town of Whitestown Redevelopment Commission pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of economic development revenue bonds of the Town of Whitestown and approving form of taxpayer agreement.
All right, so a motion to approve the consideration for the TIF Pledge Resolution of 2022-04.
I'll move the adoption of resolution number 2022-04.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say no. All right, resolution 2022-04 is approved. Moving on to item D, the resolution of 2022-05, pledging tax increment to Bridal Oaks subordinate bonds.
Resolution number 2022-05, a resolution of the Town of Whitestown Redevelopment Commission pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of subordinate economic development revenue bonds of the Town of Whitestown. And so this one is for Bridal Oaks and not for Patch, correct?
Correct. And then, Dennis, could you explain that?
Yeah, certainly. Last year, about the middle of last year, we closed, well, very similar to the bond issue that Jim just mentioned, this Patch bond that will close, a developer-backed TIF bond for the Bridal Oaks TIF area. And the funds were used for infrastructure improvements, and all told, that was about $1,360,000 of bonds. when that bond issue was taken through the approval process with the council, there was a not to exceed amount of $2,400,000 with the understanding that the developer may come back and request a town to issue additional series of bonds for additional infrastructure costs. So we were contacted, and I say we, Nathan and myself, were contacted a couple of weeks ago from the developer, looking for about $100,000 more of additional bonds. And that's a small amount for a bond issue. And so you'll see this reference to subordinate on this. And the reason we're doing that is we are trying to simplify as most we can the bond documents on this. And by doing it as a subordinate issue, the developer will still buy it. And the security is the exact same from the town. It's an 80% pledge of TIF, which is what it was on the original bond. So none of that changes. But we're going to just try to really lighten up the paperwork for this one because it's such a small amount. And Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this will kind of finish out or cover up some of the costs that they incurred that were above the bond amount that we did last year.
Yes, that was the intent. It's just some increases in some costs with the project. And I believe, I'm trying to pull up the resolution now. Sorry, since I keep Zoom up, I try not to open too much because it crashes. But I was thinking in there, yeah, you actually did 125,000.
Okay.
And it just is that safety in case it did need the extra instead of the 100,000. But that's the intent. And Lindsay Phipps is here if there's questions about further from the developer. But it's just kind of a standard. They cost increases since then and project increases, so needing additional funds. It's still developer backed and same process as before.
So is this just coming out of what we're seeing across the board with the rising cost of everything? Inflation has been skyrocketing, and even today we're seeing the price of the pump continuing to roll up thanks to what's happening over in Europe. So is this just a standard part of that growth?
Yes.
Can we just get a brief summary of what the Bridal Oaks project is, just to get it on the record again?
Nathan, do you want to handle that? Or
Yeah, I was seeing if Lindsay she may not be able to connect right this second. Bridal Oaks is just northeast corner of Albert S. White and Main Street. Currently, there's a multifamily development going in, and then there's Lindsay. On the south end of the project, there'll be commercial along Albert S. White. And then next to that, they're looking at some various multifamily for rent housing that just went to Plan Commission, went to BZA, was tabled, and is coming back to Plan Commission and BZA next month. And then it's just, I forget how many acres offhand development, but it's MU Core mixed use development. So.
Lindsay, do you want
So
to?
that'll be Lebanon schools. Do we know how many units for the residential portion?
You there, Lindsay?
Sorry, this is Lindsay Phipps. Ball game.
Having some more internet.
Yes, I believe it's just a little over on the project.
Sorry, we're getting a connection issue.
Did you say 2 projects?
Well, there's multiple pieces of full Bridal Oaks because there's a Pulte home development that has 2 phases. There's looking at a 2-phase for rent housing project and the apartments. I'm not certain offhand what those phases look like because some of them haven't came through. The only thing approved so far is the housing and the multifamily. I believe the multifamily was just over 200 units, and then I'm not sure on the Pulte housing addition what was in that and what's in the future phases.
I know we've been following along with the project, so we're, as a school district, I know you're mentioning it's in Lebanon. We're up to date and know what's happening with it. So we're good. It's in process.
Sounds good, thanks.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of resolution number 2022-05.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say no. All right, resolution 2022-5 is approved. There's no other business.
Mr. President, I'd just like to make a quick note for everyone, as was referenced by Nathan and by council earlier this evening. As you may be aware, the governor has ended the public health emergency with adoption of new legislation. And so in the coming days, hopefully we will see an update from council on what that means for our meeting requirements. We've been operating under the public health emergency and what allows for board attendance and voting practices. With that, now that that has ended, we've asked that council look through what does that mean for all of our meetings? How can we operate? What remote activities are allowed, especially for voting versus non-voting members, which oftentimes comes down to what you are voting on as a board. So look forward to getting that for all of our boards and commissions, and then for having specific citations for different boards, as Dennis will work to get us as RDC commissioners more information on what that means for us and our attendance in the future. Just want to make a note to keep a lookout on that, so that we should have that by the next meeting.
Sounds great, thank you for the
And
update.
speaking of next meeting, Adam, with those changes,
Oh, yeah, we're gonna probably struggle to have it the first week of April.
yeah, because there's a few members who are on spring break in April, and that may be hard. That's the meeting scheduled for the same week as Zionsville spring break.
Mm.
Yeah, and there's 3 members who aren't going to be available. So,
Just push it back a week, or?
back a week is the same date as Plan Commission, so Plan Commission's on the 11th. Open dates are the 12th, which is a Tuesday, 14th, a Thursday, or go back 2 weeks, staying on Monday to the 18th, and that entire week's open.
Is there anything we need to get in before we have the April council meeting?
If I remember correctly, there was talk of a project, I believe it was Hunter, that we had a presentation on at the end of January. So if that were to come to fruition, we'd probably want to have that prior to the April council meeting, if that is still on target.
Yeah, it's still planned to be on target, and that could be or the other option you have is move it. Well, I don't know that you'd want to move it up a week, because that puts it the 28th, which is in 21 days, 3 weeks.
The only thing on my calendar for April 12th is to take out the trash and recycling at 7 o'clock in the morning. Other than that, I am wide open.
Why don't you put out some dates to all the boards and figure out the best day?
Okay.
I don't know what the remote rules would be. That, I guess maybe that's a question, but obviously, it's possible that I'd be able to meet via teleconference.
Yeah, I think that's something that hopefully council can get us those sooner rather than later, so we can have a more informed decision on what our options would be. I do know for sure, regardless of the material, you have to at least have a quorum of voting members present to be operating. So if we're in a situation where of our 5 voting members, 3 of them are going to be out of town for some sort of spring break activities, obviously that week is out, even if we are allowed to do some remote. So we'll need to figure something out.
Yeah, Nathan, just throw a few dates out there and let's figure out. And then if there's other pieces of business that need to be tied to it, be flexible, bumping it up or moving it back.
Okay.
All right. Any other items? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody no?
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Saturday.